Okay. Welcome to Promptcraft Live. It's Promptcraft Live, where we do Promptcraft, but live. It's amazing. This is sort of a podcast. It's sort of a call for, for our advanced user group here at Midjourney. Today is December 18th, 2025. It is a beautiful Thursday morning here in Central Texas. Not a cloud in the sky. And it's actually going to be quite warm today, up to 70 degrees. So, and it's windy, so it's quite a beautiful day. Um, the only kind of weather I love to nap during outside of gloomy is this perfect sort of autumn weather. You need some football on in the background, not to watch, just the sound. And man, I will nap. Fantastic. Good to see you, Loki and Abby and Promptogram and R and STT. Today we will be talking about image references and some industry advancements in research around image references and the style creator. So those of you who have joined right on time get that preamble. But in fact, we're just going to do some Q&A and discussion and such until about 10 after. And then we will get started in earnest. Welcome, Willie Lucence. Noctifern. Good to see you. I will unmute Loki here, just in case Loki wants to use microphone. Noctilucent, in case you want to use microphone. Promptogram, I don't think you normally speak, but you're welcome to. Same with RR and STT. STT is mobile, so may not be able to. Oh, STT has left. All right. So I was just explaining that today we'll be discussing image references and some industry advancements, some research advancements around image references. And we'll also talk about Style Creator. Loki still doesn't have a mic on this PC. Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Have you guys been playing with the new Style Creator? The new beta opinions? Opinions. Abby, you have your mic. You can just talk if you want. Is it because you don't know when the moment of submission is? That you miss the button? Right. It interrupts any strategy you have. I'm wondering, since they spent so much time designing this, what I find to be a strategy disrupting user interface, if they want to discourage us from using that tool with a strategy. Maybe they're intentionally steering us away from having a style in mind or doing any sort of particular planning. Maybe they're trying to make us wander.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, like an intense controller over here.
I know. Well, when we first started discussing it, they were like, they wanted to call it a style explorer. And they didn't mean you can explore different styles. They meant that you can forge a path through styles. And like Hansel and Gretel, you'll be dropping SREFs behind you as you explore. So when you go to your create page, you see all the breadcrumbs you dropped on your exploratory path through the style space. And what people got out of it was, ooh, I can make a style. right? And when they
Mhm.
asked us, what
Mhm.
should we call this? We said, ooh, call it the style creator. That was us wishing that that's what it was for.
Mhm.
But it seems very much to be a travel through the aesthetic latent space, dropping breadcrumbs as you go metaphor. So now I'm thinking maybe they shouldn't call it the style creator. Maybe they should call it the style traveler or something.
This yeah. Hmm.
Because as RR just called it the style configurator, if there's anything it doesn't do, it doesn't let us configure. It's more like I don't know. It's way more like a style traveler. I wouldn't call it that. That's a very clumsy name, but something that captures the idea like a style sailboat, something that captures the idea of you floating through the latent space and dropping anchors as you go so that that's what each of the SREFs are, but it's about the path, the travel, the exploration, not about the creation. Yeah, very expensive breadcrumbs. Willie says, I think it can be both of those things, exploratory and also being able to create a custom specific style if they bring back the refined grid button. Yeah. Is that what people want? An aesthetic exploration, an aesthetic travel? I don't think so. Well, everyone I talk to is a power user. Everyone I talk to, I mean, are the people who are deeply engaged in Midjourney and they come to events and they're here to learn. So these are the folks who are trying to do something pretty involved with Midjourney typically. So I don't know. I never get to talk to the people who are just like use Midjourney a couple of times and just mess around and are just, intrigued by it and are just like, "Ooh, what happens when I click this?" So, I don't know. I don't know what people want, and I don't know Midjourney's mechanisms for determining what people want beyond surveys and such of the population of people who are engaged enough to take surveys, which is a different group than the vast majority of users.
To me, even with the refine button, it's still like there's still enough unpredictability in it that like I don't really know what it's gonna do, especially if you choose more than one image. It's like I have no way of really refining in a scientific way because there's still some kind of built-in surprise.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah, I feels like it was already exploring in that sense. Like you can kind of move in a direction, um,
Yeah,
but
but
it's different from like handpicking an
I agree. It's more
SREFs. Yeah.
directional than it is chemical. It's not chemistry.
Yeah,
It's not chemistry.
yeah,
It's paint. It's splashes.
yeah.
It's general. It's rough.
Splashing in this direction.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Based solely on feedback on my YouTube videos and community, there are many out there who want to create their own specific custom style for things like storytelling. Right. Yes, there are SRFs and mood boards, but often they seem to want another option. I'm hoping the style creator will fit that need, but no refine grid button makes it harder. Agree. And the whole design of the style creator makes me question whether Midjourney even wants to support um, the need that you're describing, Nakti. Like maybe the vision for it is simply not that. Or maybe they'll bring it around. Maybe they'll steer it back around, and they're just not there yet. It's possible too. I mean, this is all speculation on my part. It reminds me to get your videos linked to our community site if you want, Nocti. Yeah, yeah. You don't want a fuzzy search. How do you mean, Heems? Promptogram says, it seems to me that most of the effort explanation on Style Creator has been focused on creating a new unique style or exploration or specific custom style, as you said it, as if 4.29 billion styles is not enough or unique enough for you. Ha! According to his introduction video, David's objective for Style Creators is to create forms, nuanced shapes that cannot easily be described by words, not stylings, modes of representation or styles. Or to paraphrase his words, to do prompts not with words, but with feeling. Okay, so that, I mean, I remember this, yes, and this is exactly Promptogram why I'm saying perhaps the vision for the style traveler is more to match David's vision and less to match what Noctilucent's been describing or what I've been describing or what Abby's been describing. I mean, maybe they can make the tool do both things. Maybe they can. The style spelunker. Oh my goodness. The style cruise. Okay, well, this is Promptcraft Live, and today we are going to talk about image references and a few industry advancements around image references, and then we can circle back to talking about the style creator. If you are listening on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, please enter a comment. If you put in a word in the search explorer, then the styles are based on the text, but they don't seem to be exactly the attribute I have in mind or that my text implies. It may travel the latent space, but that space does travel in my mind. Doesn't? Does travel? Yeah. Doesn't. Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sinaida, how you doing? Oh, let me unmute you, just in case. All right. So there's this meta canvas paper that I want to talk about. Explains why Midjourney behaves the way it does today and what kind of architecture would be needed to fix its most frustrating limitations. So I will give you a copy of this article, and I'll also give you a summary document so you don't have to sweat the whole article. But here is the article we're discussing today. Just briefly, in case you want to crack that open. So Midjourney users, right, we run into the same recurring images with reference images. Similarity only doesn't really work the way we hope. Faces don't stay consistent even with help, right? A higher OREF seems to give a sort of more idealized result rather than a more literal result. So this meta canvas paper, it starts sort of from a different observation, but it's the same problem seen from the other side. So modern multimodal LLMs, MLLMs, modern multimodal LLMs, these are like Nano Banana, right? You can talk to it in natural language and it figures out the layouts and the attributes and the relationships and multi-object scenes, but you're using natural language. And what you're doing is you're using natural language, and that natural language segment of the experience becomes a prompt written by the system, which is sent to the diffusion model. So what happens is all that understanding gets crushed into a single global text embedding, the prompt. So no matter what your conversation is before the LLM compresses it into a prompt, the diffusion model itself can only when it makes the image is kind of working from vibes. How do I explain this? So structure is lost, spatial planning is impossible or close to impossible. Attribute binding is unreliable. So what the meta canvas idea changes, it proposes something that Midjourney doesn't have today. So instead of the prompt, it's saying, let there be a thinking model plan inside the latent space. So a sort of a module that is a planner. So it doesn't describe the scene, which is what it does right now. Is we've got something that creates a prompt. The planner sketches the scene on the same grid that the generator uses. I don't know if that makes sense. So the diffusion model is actually going to make an image based on the seed, which is a canvas, which has a grid on it. What if we had this paper is saying, what if we had a planner module that does a sketch, the skeleton, the outline on that grid, and then hands it off to the diffusion model? That would create better layouts, better attribute binding, better edits, better multi-reference control, better convergence, better consistency. There's a huge payoff to this idea. If we had explicit latent space planning, a structured interface between understanding and actually diffusing. So it's sort of a class of architectural change Midjourney would need to sort of mitigate some of the mistakes that Midjourney makes today. So because Midjourney today is pure diffusion, top to bottom, pure diffusion, and the Meta Canvas paper is proposing, like, what happens when you give diffusion models an actual plan. 1 second, Reason.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
You guys talking? What are you talking about?
If you scroll up, you'll see a header that says article we're discussing today.
Oh yeah, I clicked on that. Okay.
So that paper doesn't explain Midjourney. It explains why Midjourney can't do what we want and what kind of system eventually could do what we want. And the proposal is more intelligence, a specific kind of intelligence, the meta canvas intelligence. And I don't know. I mean, look at Himbo's explainer graphic there, right? That was made with Gemini or ChatGPT or something. I don't know, but probably Nano Banana looking like. But that looks to me like they have a meta canvas already. But on the other hand, this paper is super recent, so. Himbo says, I think the
No, but
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Himbo says, I think the problem with seeds in Midjourney could improve the editing and prompting in Midjourney. What is actually the problem with having stable seeds? Stable seeds are if you have a single system handling all your requests. They become a little bit out of sync when you have lots of different GPUs.
I feel like seeds could, I mean, in theory, could be useful, but I mean, I don't know. Is that just not something that they can, where they're stable, that they can actually implement, or just do you think that it's something they're just not focused on or not particularly
I
interested
know.
in?
I think. Well, I do think that Nano Banana and the new ChatGPT image Sora, whatever they call it, 5.2 image maker, and so on. I think that I don't know.
Well,
I didn't ask it,
I'm
but
talking about Midjourney specifically,
no, I
like
know. But
when it comes to using seeds.
I think that since these other services are doing it, Midjourney may not. Midjourney, it doesn't seem to be, because it helps with adherence, and
Yeah.
at every turn, Midjourney turns away from adherence. Midjourney says we're about sailing the latent space. We're not about creating specific pictures. The other guys are about creating specific pictures. We're about aesthetics and forms. So would Midjourney ever pick up the meta canvas module? I don't know. I think maybe not. I'm unclear on whether Midjourney really wants to double down on adherence stuff. Doesn't seem like it.
Mm.
So the next thing I want to share, yeah, go ahead.
Things change.
Yes.
My old employer, their like unofficial motto was like the only constant was change.
I'm looking for. There we go. So the next thing I'm sharing is this PDF. No promptogram. Or a little, but not as much as I would hope. So this is just, if you guys have been to different classes with me and different events, then you've heard me. Wow, my chair just rolled backward. So you've heard me explain how reference images work before. So what I wanted to do is, first of all, sort of write it down a little bit, and secondly, get a little more specific for those of you who like the deeper dives. Now, this is the advanced users group, so I am not going to be afraid of saying sort of complicated AI words, AI research type terms. We might not be familiar with them, but what I want you to do is just see if you can figure out what it means from context. And if you can't, let's look it up. Okay? Because I don't want to talk. We're game usually for the bigger concepts. So I'm going to try it. You guys with me? So So what I want to explain is, have you ever seen the Danny DeVito video I made? What I've tried to explain before is that Midjourney doesn't really understand what is in your image. I say it has semantic recognition only. And so it doesn't really understand the pixels that make up your red umbrella. It understands the concept of redness and umbrellaness, what we call semantic recognition. And then it recreates that, not from your image, but from its own understanding of that semantic thing. So it never says, I'm going to move the pixels of your umbrella to a new picture. It says, I'm going to examine the pixels. Oh, it makes me think of red and it makes me think of umbrellas. I'm going to throw your picture out. In my head, I have red and umbrella in my head now. And now I'm going to make an umbrella using what I know about red and umbrella. Notice I said you throw the original picture out. That's not exactly true. Midjourney is actually continuously pulling constraints from the picture you give it, but it's always writing. It's always putting pixels down on the canvas from its own head, from whatever it already knows. It is not being taught anything by your image. So if you give it an image of I don't know, Luxabiddleproc, and it looks at the image and it doesn't know what a Luxabiddleproc is, it'll come up with what it can pick up from the image. Like it'll say, oh, it's gold and there's furry and these look like cat ears. And then it throws out the Luxabiddleproc and it looks at what it semantically recognized. I've got cat ears, gold, and fuzzy. And then it uses those things to make a picture. And it tries to constrain it with some other stuff that it picks up from your picture. So there might be some sort of similarity, but it doesn't know what similarity is. It's just picking up stuff from the image and then using whatever's already in its training to put it down. You can never add anything new to its training by giving it a picture. So what I've done with this document, which we don't have to go over right now, what I've done with this document is try to create just a very simple walkthrough of what I just explained in a narrative way. The narrative is much easier to understand than the specifics, but I wanted to give you the specifics just in case. So that's what this document is about. And the bottom two questions are really why I think you might find it worthwhile to skim this document or to use an AI to ask questions of this document, or however you like to do documents. It explains why reference images fail to produce similarity. And it explains why a high OREF weight produces semantic similarities instead of literal ones. Because when you increase the weight, you're asking for more statistical pattern alignment. Statistical pattern alignment is the technical term for semantic recognition. I say semantic recognition because it has more narrative sense to us. Semantic is meaning, recognition is recognition. So we're like, oh yeah, it kind of gets the meaning. But really what it's doing is statistical pattern alignment with its own training data. Probably says this on the PDF, but does Midjourney do it the way they say? What is the way they say? And who's they? This is Midjourney's Promptcraft Live, the advanced users group for the Midjourney Promptcraft community. We are currently discussing how image references work. I mean OREF, I mean SREF, I mean image prompts. I have provided a link to, or I've provided the actual attachment of this document in your Discord chat. If you are on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook and want a link to this document, just say so in whatever comment field is most convenient to you, and we will circle by and provide it. Do you guys want me to walk through this document, or would you rather read it on your own? Okay, Promptogram. So Midjourney generates, I made it. I made it because I wanted us to look at that meta canvas thing. And when I started wanting to explain what the meta canvas does, what gap it fills, I realized maybe people won't appreciate what gap the meta canvas proposal fills. Oh, I am.
Oh, I haven't heard of the Meta Canvas. What's that?
The meta canvas is the PDF article we were discussing before you came in.
I mean, it's a thing though. It's not just an article, right? It's a product or something.
It's a proposal. Yeah, here.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I'm looking it up right now. Sorry, I didn't
Okay,
mean
no,
to
it's
interrupt your.
not at all, not at all. It's a proposal. What they're saying is, look, diffusion sucks at this. Why don't we create this concept of a meta canvas, which allows, which actually uses diffusion, because we want to continue to use diffusion, but what if we use diffusion not just to put the pixels down, but what if we use diffusion to first plan what the image should look like, constrain that against the image against the prompt or the reference image, and then pass that off to the diffusion model. So in other words, to me, what I think they're saying is, don't start with random noise. Don't start with random noise, which is what we do today. Don't start with completely random noise. Give the random noise to the planner. Let the planner shape it so that when I hand it to the diffusion model and it starts diffusing based on this structured seed, it is far more likely to actually diffuse into the things that I've asked for. It's an exciting idea. It's an exciting idea, and what I suggest is that if you're interested, just let an AI summarize the full document for you. That's why I gave you the full document and not notes, right? Because you can make your own notes if you throw it into ChatGPT or whatever you want to do. This group especially knows how to use AI tools to get information out of PDFs. And I thought to myself that, you know what would accompany this meta canvas idea really well? It would be an explanation of how Midjourney uses reference images now. Meta canvas is a diffusion module that might be used by something like Midjourney, Nano Banana, Sora, etc. It's a theory right now. Although before you came in, I was speculating that maybe it's more than theory. Maybe they're already doing it, because I can't figure out how you see the images in this document, how specific this, and there's arrows, and like, how does it do that without a meta canvas concept already in place? These explainer graphics. How could it do that without a meta canvas? So I think that these not Midjourney doesn't, but I think that these other folks might be using either a rudimentary meta canvas concept that they've in parallel developed, or this paper is directly related to how they do it. So Midjourney is not multi-anything. Midjourney's diffusion all the way down. So one of the epiphanies I had, or self-corrections I had, was I often say to myself, or at least with CREF, before Meta Canvas, that's close, Promptogram. That's close. Sure, Reason. That's right. So you can use ChatGPT will do that. Notebook LM will do that. Nano Banana will do it. Everyone can do it. That's how I made the graphics that are in the document. So that's what I really, really hope you guys will do with some of these documents. Let's figure out. It is to learn what you care to learn from them. So Promptogram said, so before Meta Canvas, diffusion model can only do studium, which is vibes, not punctum specificity. Right. Well, let's say it this way, Promptogram. Before the Meta Canvas proposal, diffusion models can only do studium, and they will strive or struggle to do punctum. But with Meta Canvas, the struggle will be reduced. Sure, Heems, if anyone's interested.
No, we're only talking about Midjourney here. This is a Midjourney server.
Well, Midjourney is part of a
I mean,
multi-AI workflow,
I'm
so
kidding.
I know, but I'm just saying it
For
because,
those who don't know.
right. Otherwise, we get lost in jokes, and everyone's like, was that real? Like, no, only a few people get that Reason is joking. Ah, my job. Hello, Signora Santa. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Feliz Navidad. I'm running out of Spanish. What a great gift.
Have you seen Opal? Google's Opal?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've played with it yet.
Yeah. Like I just discovered it yesterday. It's I won't go long into this, but just a brief description. Basically, you have like these different. It's very visual. The structuring. You have like these I don't know what to call them, like blocks or of things. You can rearrange them on the screen and link them together using nodes, and that's kind of how you structure it. So each little block or card or whatever you call it has the instructions, and it's a very interesting interface. I haven't actually experimented too much with it, but you can also do like a chat, so you can just tell it what you want to do as well.
Awesome. You know what we need? We need to get you to the Ink and Algorithm Society so that you can show us all of these other tools.
I don't know much about Opal, but AI Studio I've been using a lot.
Well, can you demo AI Studio to us next Tuesday? Or maybe not, that might be
Yeah,
Christmassy, but maybe in the new year or
no,
something.
I'm an atheist,
Yeah,
but
well,
I mean, if you're not having a thing, then that's fine.
I just mean there might not be anyone else here, but just be you and me.
Well, there's probably a lot of atheists that are
Yeah, fair enough.
active in these. I mean, a lot of people I know here that I met through Midjourney and stuff are like atheist
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah. I am too. I'm what's called a secular Jew or a cultural Jew.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of those. There's a lot of us. We go to temple with everyone else, but it's for different reasons. No, Ari. In fact, I am supposed to be going over this document. Oh, Ari, you're deafened.
We
We're
got
deafened. He
we
can't
got
hear
s-
us.
sorry, I got sidetracked.
Okay, Ari. Now you can hear me. The show is not over. In fact, Promptogram and Loki and a bunch of people asked me to go over this document, and so far I've been extremely distracted
I
by
will shut up.
certain people. I am not naming names. It would be unreasonable to name names. Okay, why reference images don't work as expected sometimes. Ready? Okay. Oh yeah, Willie, I hope you get something out of them. Circle back if you want. I want to talk to you about the site at some point. I keep forgetting. Happy holidays. So Midjourney generates images by sampling from a learned statistical distribution rather than copying or recognizing specific pixels or objects. It uses reference images to bias the sampling process toward a narrow latent space region, resulting in images that appear highly similar without true memory or recognition. So if you're Ari, then I just made your head spin. You don't know what these words mean. What I'm trying to say is Midjourney looks at your image and compares it to the information about objects that it already has in its head. And it finds in its head, which is all math, it finds in its head patterns that match the patterns in your picture. That's what sampling from a learned statistical distribution means. Sampling meaning it's looking at your picture. Learned statistical distribution. Learned meaning it's already in Midjourney's head. And the statistical distribution is the pattern. Now, I said it uses reference images to bias the sampling process toward a narrow latent space region, meaning it continuously compares what it has in its head to your image and constrains or narrows down the comparison, which happens to create more similarity. So it looks at redness and umbrella, and it finds it in its own head. Here's redness and here's umbrella. And then it says, can I get that any more specific? It looks back at your image. Now it sees that the redness has some patent bright highlights on it. So it constrains its reconstruction in its head. Okay, so it's redness and umbrella, but constrained by highlights. It's redness and umbrella and constrained by nighttime. It's redness, umbrella, highlights in nighttime constrained by droplets of water. It's redness and droplets of water constrained by, right? So it gets narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. And then it uses that narrow information that it has in its own brain to recreate or to strive to recreate a similar umbrella. It doesn't know that it's doing that. All it's doing is saying, I'm constraining a bunch of data and then I'm going to draw a picture based on that. It has no concept of, I am trying to make something similar. That's right, Himbo. It can't create new objects. Everything is based on the data set. It can create new objects because it can blend. I mean, if you say red, if you give it a red umbrella with a never before seen alien design on it, it will strive to blend something in there that will account for the alien design, because the presence of the alien design has continuously constrains its selection. But it doesn't know what an umbrella is. It has a statistical distribution in its latent space, which is correlated to the word umbrella. So when you give Midjourney a reference image, it's extracting statistical visual features and using them to bias the diffusion process toward a narrow region of latent space it already learned during training. Right, it can't picture all umbrellas. The new image is created from noise, but constrained so strongly that it appears highly similar. The similarity comes from the probability collapse. Promptogram says, well, a new object is always a blending, isn't it? That's what diffusion model is good for. Yes, Promptogram. How often in the process does it do that biasing? Ari, I don't know. Not often enough, otherwise it would be more similar. I don't know. I mean, we're given a set amount of time for the job, right, Ari? I mean, we pay for Midjourney using minutes, and we spend those minutes on jobs, which is when we send the command is a job, right? And that job is constrained. It has a certain number of steps to it, a certain number of minutes that we've paid for. And it has to fit all of this work I'm talking about in that job, in the number of steps or in the amount of time that we have for that job. So can it do enough biasing? Can it do enough conditioning, which is the mechanism by which it compares the output to the prompt to make sure that it's still accurate? It doesn't have a lot of time to do that in a single job. So Midjourney produces similarity from nothing but probability collapse. It's not even tracking similarity. During training, Midjourney builds visual pattern clusters. So there's nothing like an object or a label or a stored example. There's no examples of umbrellas in Midjourney's head. This is why in the legal discussions, it's so murky. People aren't sure how to get mad at diffusion models, because diffusion models aren't really using any of your stuff. They're using some math extracted from your stuff. So did it steal Stephen King's novel? It didn't really take any of his words. It just took the probability of words appearing in an order. Did I violate Stephen King's copyright by extracting math from his manuscript? That's why it's so murky. Can one give more or less time to a generation? One can. You can use Q2 and Q4, very expensive, but just because you've given it more time using this mechanism, Ari, it doesn't mean it's going to spend the time on what you think is important. The default is 1. unless you're in draft mode. The default is 0.5 in draft mode. But there's no way to say --Q 0.5. If you do that, it'll be rounded up to 1. The only way to get 0.5 is to literally type in draft, --draft, turn on draft mode. Anything between 1 and 2 is rounded, anything above 1 and below 2 is rounded to 2. Anything above 2 and below 4 is rounded to 4, I believe. So there's no 1, 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3, 3.5. There's none of that. There's just 1, 2, and 4. Draft 1, 2, and 4. Draft default 2 and 4. Right, Johnny? So the problem with trying to increase the time granted to your job using Q is that Q doesn't necessarily make Midjourney pay more attention to the thing you hope it will. So you might say, I'm going to increase the time I give to my job so that it will listen to my prompt better, have more time to condition and listen to my prompt. And instead, Midjourney is like, ooh, you said paisley, so I'm going to make this paisley super, super detailed. You know, I'm going to put paisley on everything. And you're like, dude, no, Midjourney, don't use the time for that. Use the time for prompt adherence. Use the time for facial consistency. Use the time for similarity. Use the time for, well, no. Midjourney will use the time to elaborate on details more likely. It's more likely to get more ornate. But doesn't a repeat mean it actually has more time to do something, not just a single grid? It can randomly go over options in the latent space. If you repeat a prompt, it will explore a certain space, certain aspects of the data. Does it need more time to do an actual thing? Re-rolling might get you there. Re-rolling is called re-rolling because it's like dice. You get when you re-roll or run a prompt again, you get a new seed. The new seed might allow Midjourney to come up with a different outcome. But it's exactly like gambling. I mean, you have no idea if the new outcome is, because that new outcome, there's no memory. It's not Midjourney saying, oh, the last time I put the duck on the left, so this time I'm going to put the duck on the far left. It's just random. Randomly, the duck appears in the same place. Randomly, it appears on the right. Randomly, it appears higher up. Randomly, it doesn't appear at all. Randomly, So you said, can it randomly go over options? Yeah, it can randomly go over options. You have to use variation and remix to push it in a direction. Back to MetaCanvas. So MetaCanvas strives to listen more carefully to a punctum, to semantic, than it gives back to the diffusion model who doesn't understand semantics. So MetaCanvas is like hiring a sketch artist for your oil painter. MetaCanvas says, hold up, what if we do a rough sketch of the thing and then hand it over to Midjourney to finish the picture from the sketch, the underpainting? What if we have something that plans what the diffusion model will do and then give the diffusion model the plan rather than a prompt? The prompt isn't working. The prompt is too much vibe. Not enough studium. Excuse me, not enough punctum. So why don't we create, instead of giving it a prompt, why don't we create, or instead of giving it just a prompt, why don't we give it a plan plus a prompt? No, in this case, a reference image given to a system like this, the reference image informs what the underpainting will be, but isn't used directly. Ari says, would giving more time like a Q2 or Q4 allow the model to have a better prompt adherence or reference image resemblance? Does anyone want to try answering this question? Because I already answered it, so all of you guys should know. Not at all. It's a good learning opportunity. See if folks picked up on it. Can other people answer the question? Westendorf, Sonida. The answer is not necessarily, and probably not. Because there is still randomness, says Himbo. There's always a maybe factor, says Sonida. The fact is that the time that you give Midjourney, Ari, will not necessarily be spent on anything that you think is important. You can't give it more time and say, use it for better prompt adherence. You can't give it more time and say, use it for reference image resemblance. You can give it more time and it will just play with the extra time like a child. It's likely to just elaborate on details and make things prettier. I mean, maybe we'll get better prompt adherence or image resemblance out of it, but you know what? Probably not. Usually it just makes things like really pretty and detailed. MetaCanvas is able to create an underpainting from the reference image in the prompt. Hand the underpainting to Midjourney, and then Midjourney's image is improved. But the reference image is never itself the underpainting, not unless in Midjourney we have retexture. If you use retexture, then perhaps you could say that the reference image is the underpainting. But otherwise, no. MetaCanvas is a research concept that we were discussing before you came in. Which I think I've just forwarded it, I hope. There we go. Ari, if you wanna grab that. Could you have a noisy image prompt though? What do you mean by noisy? I'll paste this in because it's a good conclusion to this, what we've been talking about. So your reference image biases the diffusion process by pulling sampling toward a specific region of latent space, narrowing variance, and suppressing alternatives. We see similarity, but Midjourney is only doing constrained diffusion. I understand that I'm not being very clear. I can hear that I'm not being very clear. Right, Promptogram, it doesn't just read reference images. It takes your prompt, it takes reference images, and it creates a plan for the diffusion model. Similarity is a human idea. The model just says these patterns are constrained in a similar way. These patterns are constrained rather by the constraints your reference image gave me. Even without a text prompt, it can read the semantic dimension of the image prompt right. That's why Midjourney calls it an image prompt, right? Because the image itself is sufficient to prompt the system. But we do have image references also, which is like cref, oref, sref. But Promptogram, MetaCanvas is not the diffusion model, and MetaCanvas is not a pixel analyzer. It's a planning layer. It builds like an internal composition relationship intent plan. Here, try this. I suppose I understood well, but is what you call underpainting generated by a similar or different AI? Underpainting is MetaCanvas. Underpainting is MetaCanvas. MetaCanvas is research proposal, not real. Research idea. Right now, we go from reference image to diffusion model. The researchers propose MetaCanvas. Giving everyone a moment to type whatever they need to type here. So I've said in the past, I've speculated that maybe Midjourney has a face recognition app or something in it, because I was like, I spoke to a dev once and they said, yeah, kind of. And I was like, okay. But after reading about MetaCanvas and seeing how it applies, because the MetaCanvas article really helps explain a lot of stuff that I was filling in myself. So now I'm pretty sure we can put to rest the idea that there's anything like a face recognition app in Midjourney. We've speculated before, but now I'm pretty much, again, I think it's diffusion all the way down. No app helping, just pure diffusion.
Gemini. So I've been like, creating my app, and I uploaded like an image of some famous people, or even like cartoon characters or whatever, just to test and see what happens. And I have a feature where it auto assigns a name. You can either change the name, or it'll just create a name. I didn't know that it would actually recognize the actor or animated character and give it that name. So let's say, Gemini definitely can do, you know, recognizes people from images at upscale. Or I know you're not talking about that, but you're talking about Midjourney. But
Well, I mean, you're talking about the power of the multimodal language model, right? You're talking, I mean, that's what Midjourney doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Midjourney doesn't have any thinking. So it can't do stuff like recognize.
Yeah.
And that's really important for us to understand. And it's really important for me to stop speculating that something other than diffusion is going on. Because every single time I think, well, maybe something other than diffusion, maybe there's a helper, maybe there's a this, maybe there's that. The answer is no, there isn't. Claude summary of Clarinet reference image explainer. The bottom line, Midjourney generates images by collapsing probability, not by copying or understanding. Reference images are steering mechanisms, not templates, which is why results can feel close but off when the statistical neighborhood doesn't perfectly align with what you had in mind. Thanks, Claude. To what Reason was saying, I'm going to paste this in. The part that's missing is the LLM. This is the part that reasons. The other part that's missing is MetaCanvas, which is a proposed addition, and maybe missing from Nano Banana and Sora and everything else, because this is a fairly recent paper. So it's possible that right now Midjourney is missing the LLM and the MetaCanvas, and Gemini has the LLM but is missing the MetaCanvas. But all three of them would be ideal. No. I know why you're saying that, Himbo, because you're a smart boy. I know why you're saying that. You're saying, well, okay, maybe it's random, but it's still kind of the plan that Midjourney's using to make the image. But we can't really say it's a metacanvas, because the concept of metacanvas implicit is that it is planned. And seeds are definitely not planned. Certainly seeds were not made by a multimodal LLM that says, you know what, I understand this prompt because I'm an LLM, so let me make a sketch and give it to the meta canvas, and meta canvas and I will make this underpainting so that the diffusion model doesn't fuck it up. Well, yeah, sure. A very planned seed might be what meta canvas is suggesting. And I said this earlier. In our conversation. Maybe we shouldn't be starting with a random seed. Maybe that's not helpful. Maybe we should start with something more structured than a random seed. Maybe that would help. I did not say that, Promptogram. I said that occasionally I speculate that Midjourney is using some sort of app inside of its mechanisms, that one of its mechanisms is an app inside of itself that's producing certain effects. And I am incorrect. It is unlikely that Midjourney licensed a facial recognition algorithm and added it to their OREF. I am incorrect about that. Midjourney could, if it wanted to, have an LLM front end and a meta canvas, but it does not. The text is a separate app. I certainly keep thinking so, Kimbo, but the more I learn, the less I think that it's a separate app. The more I think it's this frickin' diffusion again. The moderation is a separate app. Yes, that I can safely say. I will go on record saying the moderation is a distinct and separate app. But I believe the text might actually just be more diffusion.
What text you're talking about, like the descriptions or the conversation mode, or
No. Like if you say, give me a postcard that says "Hello World" and it prints "Hello World" in some sort of font, and it messes up and puts 3 L's or something. Like at some point, I said, "Oh wow, the text is pretty good. Maybe Well, I didn't say it. We speculated that maybe they got a text app that just prints text on things and it just messes up some. That's all wrong. It's wrong. Midjourney is using diffusion to print text, and that's why the text f's up. It's not, and when they say we're going to fix it, we're going to make text really good, what they're saying is we're going to curate some a data set, a training data set of lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of text, and we're going to train Midjourney finally with text, and it's going to be great at printing text because we're going to give it more training. That is my new theory. Because it's diffusion all the way down. It's so hard for me to wrap my head around, you guys. I can't believe that it can be diffusion all the way down. Yes, Tita. I agree. I would like meta canvas to become a thing. I would like a meta canvas layer. Yes, Himbo, you're right. The part of the reason why Midjourney is poor at text is that people were getting lots and lots of unwanted text. Like they would say, I would like to design a pamphlet. And Midjourney's like, pamphlet? I've got plenty of patterns to match pamphlet. They all have text on them. And so you get a pamphlet with like this random text all over. And you'd be like, no, I'm trying to get a pamphlet design. And we had to have these FAQs for removing text. let's see if I can find it. No. Remove text. Yeah, we had to have these FAQs for removing text because text would show up. So finally, they said, "Look, we'll solve the problem by going through the training data, removing all of the pictures with text in them, and then we'll retrain the model without it. And now the model has no idea how to write text, so you won't get unwanted text. Yay!" And then we turned around and said, "But now our text sucks." So I don't know how they're going to solve it. They're going to have to figure out a way for when you ask for text for it to diffuse only the limited area where the text is and not the whole canvas. Something like that. You and me both, Promptogram. Yep. I mean, part of the problem and part of the fun of the Midjourney Promptcraft Live Advanced User Group thing is we're speculating. We have just a little bit of information from our various developers, and so we try to piece it all together. But a lot of it is a black box. A lot of it is a black box. Okay, well, I wanted to give 45 minutes or an hour to Meta Canvas and how Midjourney uses reference images, probably. And if you did not get a copy of these two documents, please let me know and I will provide them. If you are watching this as a recording or on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook and would like a copy of either of these two, even if it's later, feel free to @ me in whatever your comment field is and I will provide this for you. They're pretty cool ideas. Yeah, Tita, you're welcome. It is not possible for all of us to keep up with all of the interesting research, but occasionally I can find research that is extremely applicable to our concerns as Midjourney users, and I try to bring that to the group when I can. So I would like, before we transition to talking about the style creator, I would like to take a moment to ask about next year. Ari, Johnny, Loki, Promptogram, Reason, RRR, Sinida, Stu, Tita, Westendorf, Senor Carlos, and Himbo. Do you suppose you're going to be messing around with Midjourney into the new year? Can I get a yes or no?
Depends when V8 comes out.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of like hot and cold when it comes to Midjourney. Like it just depends. Like trying to see what the new thing is and if it's okay. Is it usable? Is it like a fad or so.
Right. I have had that too, Sinida. I've had that too. When I first started using Midjourney, my dreams changed. And when I talked about that, a lot of people said that happens to me too. So I have a question for all of you who said yes, and even for Reason who isn't sure. You are not alone. My question is, we can do anything we want with Promptcraft Live with this time slot. So I have a question for you to choose between, and I'll type this in as I talk so that you can answer. More research and technical deep dives, next year, like articles, like academics, etc., like I've been doing. Okay, or I'm going to type this in so you don't have to answer yet. B, more specific, structured walkthroughs of Midjourney workflows. Or C, more games and community building. Or D, something else. Okay. Next year, where should we take Promptcraft Live? You guys are the core of this. Are you guys enjoying? Oh, and guest speakers. We're going to have guest speakers too, whether you like it or not. We're going to have guest speakers. So you're just going to have to take it. Just take the special guest speakers. But I'm self-conscious when I bring the research and technical deep dives. A lot of people are very quiet when I bring it in because it's just like, what is this? So I want to make sure that I have some votes for A. More specific structured walkthroughs of Midjourney workflows. I love doing that, but you know what happens? A lot of people get bored because it's the 100th time that they've seen this particular walkthrough. So we can't do all that, but we'll do, okay, I see votes for B. I don't see anyone, a little bit of C. That's nice too. That's a good feedback. Okay. So it sounds like that's the order in which I do things now. I do mostly A, some B, a little bit less C. Reason is agnostic. Yeah, something's going to come along. So we certainly will do a lot more walkthroughs when the model changes or something, like the style creator comes along or something, and then that's where we spend our time. But other than that, I'm trying to give you insider knowledge, which is a little bit academic, but a little bit like, you know, like the MetaCanvas stuff, you know, like stuff that is very cool to know about what's happening. Or like, do you remember when we talked about Midjourney's acquisition of the sonogram technology? That was cool. Okay. Okay, well then, it doesn't sound like you guys are demanding any major changes. Yes, Tita. Maybe Westendorf. So if you Google around, you'll find that Midjourney has quietly, without telling the user base, purchased chips. And what the chips do is process material depth sonograms like babies. Not just depth, but density maps. Mostly density. We have no idea what they're doing with that. We spent a whole Promptcraft Live speculating. Density, yeah. You like it, Spirit Power. You like Style Creator interface with no button. Let's talk about that next. Close all tabs. You have been listening or watching Promptcraft Live. It is Thursday, December 18. It is nearly 12:30 in the afternoon here in Central Texas on this bright, sunny, cold day. Well, a windy day for us, cold for us, as low as 70 degrees today in this bright sun. We are pivoting from talking about some interesting research to talking about Midjourney's newest changes to its style creator. And one of the first things that we were talking about earlier today was, why is it called the style creator? Like, it feels like it should be called the style traveler, the style cruise. Because it feels like you're traveling through the aesthetic space with dropping breadcrumbs, which are your SREFs that mark the pauses in your travel. But it's very hard to wrangle it to do anything specific. It's more like tacking around on a sailboat and less like being in a chemical lab mixing some specific style. Oh, Stu, I'm going to unmute you so you can explain more about card game. That's fascinating. If you have an opportunity to explain that.
Yeah. It just feels like you're clicking on cards rather than. I can't really compare it to anything else because it's not like anything else, but like a really like card game with really nice
obscure
pictures.
card game. So, because what fascinated me about what you said was like, what if like you don't know what your suits are, right? So like you select 5 cards, and you don't know what that hand is going to give you, but then Midjourney refreshes and shows you what your hand has created.
It's like you click on some pictures and it sort of says, "Oh, you like that? Have a look at this. You'll like this."
I like
So I
that.
suppose
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a bit like yeah, it's like communicating through pictures, like a really simple question and answer. What do you like this? You'll like this.
Right. Like Amazon. You've like these books, you might like these titles.
Yeah, very much so.
So, oh my God, it put faces on all my objects. That's the cutest thing. That's hilarious. So for some reason, I guess it's only on alpha. I guess they haven't moved it to production yet. All right.
I find going back to the styles it's given me more fun than doing it because I tend to be quite happy with what it's given me, even though I don't know that until I look afterwards.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Himbo asked you what is it playing? You did answer him. I heard you. Yeah. You think, Tita, the forever scroll is too random? Oh, yeah.
I'd like it to give me less pictures of vases and fruit.
Yeah, they're going to fix that. Well, right now what it does is give you something based on Well, now it didn't. I said a collection of objects and it gave me faces.
Yeah.
That's weird. A collection of objects. Is it because I have my personalization on? No, look at that. Why? That seems buggy. I guess I'll report that. It's supposed to give you something that is in the same theme as your prompt. Zenaida says it feels like Pinterest on steroids. Greatest thing I want. Feels like mood boards or image and style references will deliver the better result. Spirit says if you don't find a good style, just scroll and scroll and scroll and you will find. Who has that kind of time, Spirit Power? It is a little meditative, though, isn't it? To just sort of look at these. I mean, they are kind of cool.
I tend to use, or I've tended to use, say, if it's giving me 5 style references, I've tended to then use them as a, like, bunch them together as, like, creating one picture with all 5 references rather than the individual ones.
Oh,
I
that's
suppose
interesting. Yeah.
I suppose I tend to, everything I do with Midjourney is messing about, really. I'm not looking for exact things because, I mean, it doesn't give you that, but I really enjoy the fact that it's not giving me everything that I'm asking for.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to fight Midjourney, but it's really rewarding to just sort of lean into what Midjourney does best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I like doing. I've gone back to using the past few weeks more image references to create things
Mm.
than prompting. We're still using prompting, but it's been great learning this. But yeah, I just really like using loads of images as references and then styles and extra. Just throw everything out.
Yeah. Well, you are Midjourney's perfect user then, because you're not fighting Midjourney.
Yeah,
You're in agreement with Midjourney.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. So let me swap for a second and look at the chat. Better this than TikTok, yeah. Search is amazing by name or URL, agree. Mood boards are very interesting and a good help, yes. Midjourney doesn't need more style features. Ha! Well, Spirit Power, that is what Midjourney is going to give you. Promptogram. If the style creator plays the game, do you like this style? If you like this style, you might also like this style. In that case, relative to the grid, the scroll is too late, too random, and you can do that in Style Search for much less GPU. Amen. Yeah. Tita says, and I do like the style chats. It would be wonderful to be able to have more to choose from. What's a style chat? Oh, the style chart, this? Or do you mean the 8 pictures? Oh, hey, Madison. Madison likes to use microphone.
I often do.
Good to see you. Hey, T. Okay. So I'm not really sure how to be pleased with my use of the Style Creator endless scroll version. But I am willing to keep playing with it to find out. Madison, have you tried the endless scroll version yet? What is your thought?
I have. It's interesting. I kind of agree with what Promptogram was saying in the sense where I feel like we arrived at style search, but just from a different angle. Like it feels like a very similar interface to me, with some key improvements. Obviously, like the fact that whenever you generate a new style, I'm not sure if this is still how it works, to be honest. But whenever you generate a new style, it automatically goes up into your create tab. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Then
Yeah.
you can have like a backlog of all of the different things that you've made. But I do feel like if you're just trying to curate a vibe, that combination of mood boards and style search could do that just as well. It's important to take detours and like try things out there, and I think this is like a worthwhile exploration. It's not something that I've been using a lot personally,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Yep.
Good notes. Good notes. I I don't think I can teach this yet because I'm not 100% sure what it's doing. I do find that I get more out of the fact that as I click, this gets closer to what I have in mind. The samples, the choices, and I often find I explain this every time. I often find the style that I want in these results more than I find them in what it's created for me. Like it could just skip that part as far as I'm concerned and just listen to me as I click so that I can get closer and closer to what I want, you know?
Is it possible because each of these images in the grid, I'm going to assume, has a like style ref code associated
Yes,
with it,
yes,
right?
that's right.
Can we visualize those? Like, do we have those somewhere?
What do you mean? Yeah,
I mean, okay.
you can you can heart them or can you just expand? Yeah, if you expand them,
Okay,
you
so you
get
got 'em.
the code. So yeah, you can like if you find the style you want just by scrolling, I just heart stuff to get it into my likes folder and go back and use those.
Nice.
I rarely use what it's actually produced on the right. So maybe I'm not the right audience, or maybe I haven't figured out how to use this yet.
I feel like if they just took some of the features from this, like say for example, if they took the style synthesis thing and found a way to integrate that directly into style search, people would probably appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then it's there if they want to use it, but they don't have to use it if they're using like I don't know, I'm not explaining myself well. But I
Well,
feel like it would feel
the
a little bit
problem
more
with the
intuitive,
Style Explorer and stuff is that no one spends any minutes looking at that.
right?
I feel like this is that, but you spend minutes. Like they've contrived a way to. That's so mean. I'm sure that's not true. That can't be the reason why they did this.
It does
No.
feel a bit like that sometimes.
It does. Because for me, the star of this is the scroll that gets closer and closer to what I'm looking for. That's fascinating to me. The fact that I've now created 10 of these, well, I really like the style, it's true, but like these are not, I
That's what I
don't
was
know.
trying to get at is I think it's in the way that they framed it, where it's its own separate tab instead of being a subset of the Explore tab, which I think would, in terms of framing, I think if you had, you know, images, videos, styles, generative or like progressive search, or something like that, or you would rename it to just something else, but you'd have it as like another tab in the search section, the explore section. I feel like from a
Yeah,
framing
straight
perspective,
search or listening search or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
exactly. Listening search, I like that. That's way better.
It's very anthropomorphic, which I think David doesn't like, but I don't
Okay,
know.
we'll find
I
something
don't
better.
know. Let's see. Spirit Power says when you scroll after 5 steps, you will always find pictures near your style. Yes, this is clever, he says. I agree. As database reference is wonderful, but to come up with a new style we are looking for is too random. Morning, Yakko. I know, Himbo, the word perfect shows up quite a bit in Midjourney UI. I don't know why. It's also in the description of the Promptcraft room. This is cool. Let me open up Filter Forge here, see if that can. There's Filter Forge. And here's aestheticsfandom.com. Whoa, for something about aesthetics, they sure don't have any.
No. This is Webcore.
This
You
is
know, it's
Webcore?
an aesthetic.
You're putting me on.
Vaporwave. I have no idea. I have no idea what this is. MySpace.
I'm too old for this aesthetic.
There's no way. Did you not have a blog at some point, like a Tumblr or a?
Yeah, but it didn't look anything like this.
Really? Most of the ones that I remember look like this.
Oh, no. Apparently, I've always had taste. Who knew?
Yeah. Fair. I feel like perfect is the goal with a lot of these iterative tools though, where it's either, pick an option from this grid, optimize towards the intended outcome that you kind of want, right? The idea is to get to like the perfect representation of the idea that you have in your mind. And I understand it from that with that framing. I just think there are easier ways to maybe get there. The way that Midjourney has gone about framing AI image generation tools runs completely in the face of how everybody else has been doing it, which is hide everything behind a chat interface, and basically have the model handle the complexity behind the scenes. That's something I've always appreciated about Midjourney is that they give the user all of these tools, like these handles and levers that they can use to interact with the models.
That's because
In a way that gives them more agency.
that's because Midjourney was born before LLMs.
Right.
So it could not hide anything behind anything. There was no curtain to hide behind.
Sure.
Sorry, not sorry, says Sinaida. What am I looking at? Alcor. Oh, hey, I love these. Too many skulls. Come on, Midjourney. Midjourney's like owls or night. So night is dark and dark is skulls. Okay, Midjourney. Go ahead, Weston, darling.
What do you mean by density? Is it like how is density measured or displayed?
Okay. So have you ever seen the sonogram of a baby?
Yeah.
Right. So what it's doing is the densest stuff gets a lighter pixel, and the least dense stuff gets a darker pixel.
Gotcha.
And that's how you get a picture of a baby in the womb, and how they check for shapes and things. So what Midjourney did is, when you get a sonogram and there's all that image processing is not happening on an NVIDIA graphics GPU or something. They actually have special chips, boards that do nothing but do the image processing for the input of these density wands that you're pulling over the belly, right?
Mm.
So the in the I don't know if you've ever seen a sonogram device, but they roll like a cabinet over,
Yeah.
and the cabinet has a
Oh.
wand attached to it, and there's a computer in that cabinet that is a computer that has one job, and the one job is to do the graphic processing to create the image, in real time while they drag the wand around. So the chips that live on the dedicated board that does that, and the software is what Midjourney licensed.
We're talking about butterfly again?
Yeah. Well, because Westendorf missed it.
I love this subject.
Mhm.
So Madison speculated, Q Madison. Can you remember what you speculated? Can you share it?
So I think, yeah, David has talked at length about how one of his ultimate goals for Midjourney is to create like a full world simulation
Yeah.
suite. And right now we've got a lot of information about, I think the pipeline that he's laid up, or the ladder that he's laid up before, was we start off with image generation, then we go to video generation, and then we do sound, which is already kind of a solved issue. Then we do 3D. And then from 3D, we get to some kind of combination of, sound, video, 3D, that creates like this world. And so basically you have
Uh-huh.
3D models, so topology. You have textures, right, with the image generation stuff. You've got audio, but then the one thing that you're missing is physics. And what ultrasound machines are really good at is capturing not the surface of an object, but the density information in an object, which you can use in soft body physics simulations to create things like, if you know how dense a tree is,
Right.
you
And
can
how
accurately
much it will
model how it
bend.
would deform. Yeah, how it would deform if it was being hit by wind.
Gotcha.
So that's what I think he's using it for, is to come up with some kind of model that can
Wow.
simulate physics. That's my theory. But it
Makes
has some
sense.
holes in it. Like my theory has some holes in it. Like in order for an ultrasound to work, the material that you're scanning has to have water in it.
Mm.
So you couldn't use it to scan something like rocks, right? But something like rocks, you don't really need to run soft body. You don't really need physics simulations for rocks. Rocks have a pretty standardized density through the entire object.
I mean, yeah. What are they going to wind up scanning a bunch of stuff? Or
That's
this
the
is
plan, I think.
the data set of scanned physics.
Well,
Interesting.
they bought access to the existing database of scanned objects, I think.
Okay.
But
Wild.
the technology that they leverage, or that they've purchased the rights to use, it's a handheld ultrasound scanner that uses it's compute based. So instead of using like sonar waves or anything, it uses like a different God, okay, I'm talking a bit off the cuff here. I'm trying to I don't have the information in front of me, but whereas most ultrasound machines are kind of like large and bulky, and you purchase one of them for a specific location in the hospital, and then you kind of like move it around on wheels. These are handheld scanners that connect to your phone, just like via USB-C cable. So they're much more portable, and I think it would allow them to scan things much more easily than if they had to purchase they could go out into the field and scan things, right? They could send these to people, like to teams, and get input data from like a whole bunch of different places. So that's kind of my theory about it. That's what I think they might be doing, but it could be something completely different.
Well, I'll share my theory.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Okay, so my theory is one of the things that the ultrasound tech does incredibly well is it has a lot of processing power, graphic processing for a single chip. And so if I wanted to create a device that did a lot of what Midjourney did without being a desktop computer with a graphics card, or if I wanted a device that could process a prompt and produce something or whatever for you without running on Midjourney servers, running on a chip instead. In other words, I feel like some part of Midjourney could run in a physical device.
That's a crazy cool idea.
Instead of I have to be connected to Midjourney servers and Midjourney's server farm processes my job and hands me the output. What if I had a physical device that did some or all of that request for me? So that or was doing some sort of processing to communicate something I was doing to the servers in a way that the servers can understand. So I feel like it's a way of getting graphics processing off of the servers and into a consumer device.
Mm.
I like that.
But I have no idea.
That
Pure
would be super
speculation.
cool. No,
I
but
mean,
it
because
talk
unlocks
about
that's what
hardware.
that tech does. That's what the tech does, right? It does graphics processing without the need of, you don't have to send your sonogram data off to a server and then it processes it and gives you your sonogram back. It does it right there in front of you on the screen on the
You're right.
device.
And it
So-
also has, when I was reading the documentation for the Butterfly Labs scanner, one of the things that it does, which is really interesting, is that ultrasound data, kind of like you send the wave into the body, and it captures a specific like cross section of the body. But their built-in software has the ability to take all of those kind of like flat images, like the cross sections, and combine them into like a 3D representation of an organ or
there you go. So
yeah.
I think Midjourney is buying the efficiency of the graphics processing chip. The fact that chip comes like with like it's been designed to do that. Why recreate the wheel? Why not go to the existing tech that does it and then massively repurpose it?
Mm.
So that's my thought. But I have no idea.
Cool.
I just think it would be really cool. Yeah, I think it would be really, really cool. And I can think of all kinds of ways I would use that. So I don't know. We don't have a betting pool or anything, Westdorf. But if you start developing a theory, let us know.
Mm.
I don't know when they're going to release whatever the thing is that they're doing.
Might be a while.
And depth map is like 2D, whereas density is more 3D and how something reacts.
Yeah. So that's God, I'm really talking out of my element here, but my understanding of the ultrasound data is it's a series of 2D images where density is basically just represented as brightness, like it's pixel opacity.
Gotcha.
But then it's a bunch of those images stacked together into a 3D representation.
Right.
Yeah. Which is an interesting
Which
way
still
of doing,
used for
yeah,
lenticulars,
I guess.
lenticular print, which is what I'm interested in.
What are you interested in? Lenticular
Prints and like using that data to build an image that would move as you walked around it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not enough
Without
people
any
are doing
electricity.
this.
I noticed that you can now just buy them, lenticular prints.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's not even expensive. That's amazing.
No?
yeah. And I guess because when you take a photo with an iPhone, it already does kind of take that sort of depth information a little bit.
Yeah,
So
that
maybe they're
fascinates
using
me.
that.
It really bothers me that we can't get Midjourney to read that because it's in there. It's in there. Why can't Midjourney read it?
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. So I just found a blog that kind of talks about how lenticular printing works. And it's just like a plastic film with like a pump on it.
Just scatters it. Yeah.
Wow.
So you only see one frame at a time.
So do you not have to have incredible alignment between the base print and the plastic though?
Probably yes. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think not necessarily because like it changes as you move. So like if it moves a little bit over the print, probably just changes what you're seeing a little bit. But yeah, I mean, probably vertical at least, or like one direction has to be because otherwise you get moire effect. With that would be really. I mean, it could be kind of cool, maybe looking depending. There's this little museum here in LA that is dedicated to 3D uh, objects and prints and holograms and stuff like that. And I guess they have like a little monthly society meeting that I'm gonna try to maybe see if I can learn more about.
Is that local or is that online? Sorry, I was busy doing
I
something
think
else
it's
at the same time.
I think it's local. Like yeah, it's LA.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, sorry, but
No, it's
I
okay.
can maybe bring
I
back
feel
info.
like you've apologized for LA many times in the
Oh.
same tone of voice. It's in LA. Yeah, sorry.
It's not everywhere.
Is that who
Oh.
Nintendo 3DS does their lenticular or their 3D screens as well? They use lenticular technology? That would be really
Which
interesting if that was the case. Well, somebody, Tita Costa AI is claiming, or sorry, Spirit Power is claiming that Nintendo 3DS uses this technology for their 3DS screens.
mm,
Hmm.
I mean that's an older version 3DS.
Yeah.
But I think the maybe what Tita Costa is talking about is the Vision Pro, the actual the VR headset and like spatial photos, like
That
having
was crazy.
like being able to move your head and have it change what you're
How many of
seeing in
you,
the image.
it's a bit of a side tangent, but how many of you have done like a Vision Pro demo?
I haven't.
They're
The
free. You just go
Oculus.
into
Really
any
want
Apple
to.
store. You go to any Apple store,
Really?
you can get a 1 hour demo.
A
I think
1
it's
hour? Oh wow.
30 minutes actually, but you can book as many of them as you want back to back.
Okay.
They're free. Yeah, it was really, really cool. I used to be really into VR. I've had 3 headsets. I had
Mm,
a Rift, I had an Oculus Quest 2 and an Oculus Quest 3. Oh no, Oculus Quest 1 and Oculus Quest 2. Um, and I've tried Index headsets, I've tried Valve headsets. The Vision Pro felt like something that was like 10 years ahead of any other headset I'd ever
Yeah,
used.
but where are you going? I mean, every place you can go with those headsets sucks.
I agree.
mm.
No, I agree. That's why I stopped. I got really into VR during the pandemic when we weren't able to go anywhere. So the
Did
like
you
quote
you
unquote
did Second
metaverse
Life
was like
or VR
no,
chat
it
or
was a lot of VR. It was VR chat. I had gotten really into making 3D models, and I started selling 3D models on VR chat and creating worlds. And I became kind of addicted to this ability to like post a world online. It would show up in the new worlds tab, and I would instantly get like 100 people who would come in, just random strangers, and they would be
right?
walking around an environment that I had created.
I
It
know
was like you
it's a
get instant
buzz, isn't
traffic.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, you get I mean, I'm sure you understand running this space. It's like the exact same
Well,
thing, isn't it?
I made I was in Second Life for a while, so
We
I
spoke
made
about this. Yeah,
Sims
we
and
spoke about this.
spaces, and I
It's addicting.
tried VR chat, but it just after Second Life, it just seems so cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I understand.
I
Oh, like
mean,
a dip.
now let me be honest. Now, when I go back to Second Life, I'm like, I thought this was good. Like Second Life also looks really lame now to me.
Yeah.
But VR chat looked really lame after when I had my SL goggles on. So I
It
have
wasn't
to.
amazing. It it's one of those things. I don't know how Second Life was set up, but VR chat was set up in a way where the public lobbies were always overrun with the worst kinds of people, and anybody who was creative or it's harsh to say, but like interesting
Yeah.
was often a private instance somewhere with
Yeah,
like
you can't find them. You can't find them.
no,
And
yeah.
there's no way to befriend anyone unless you befriend like basically the furries who are everywhere. And
Yeah.
You gotta be okay with that if you're in that.
no,
on that
I'm
platform.
totally okay with furries. Totally okay with furries. And
A lot
I
of weird
myself
stuff.
was a I don't know, a chicken or something. I
You're an
don't know.
owl. I mean,
I was the Tootsie Roll owl. The Tootsie Roll owl was a free avatar that I picked up.
really, wow, that's great.
And anyway, and but I couldn't. Most of the places I went were empty. I was very, very happy with that VR Chat had something that Second Life didn't have, which was physics. You could kick a bottle,
Right.
or drop something off something, it would bounce and fall and roll away. That was very cool. But I couldn't figure out. First of all, wasn't sure if anyone was over 18, and
Right.
the only time I ever had a really nice time was when I did they had an artistic sim tour, and I kind of fell in with a group that was going to artistic sims, and I was just like the owl, the Tootsie Roll owl, following these people. It must have been very creepy.
But it was really one of those platforms where you had
was great, though.
you had to be in the know. You had to know to log on to a specific instance of a specific world at a specific time because somebody in Discord posted it somewhere. Like there were weekly meetups. I'm talking too much about VR Chat at this point, but there were weekly
No, tell me.
I'll back it up. There were weekly meetups held by the VR Chat development team that were open to anybody. It was the first like 30 people who logged onto the instance were the ones that got to do the event. And it was basically like a world tour where the developers of VR Chat, like the community management division, but still there were some like proper devs in there, would pick out their favorite worlds, like their favorite new worlds that the user base had created, and then they would go to them basically. And the people who had created those worlds would talk a little bit about their ideas and what they envisioned for the project, how they were planning on building it out. And it was fun. It was really good. And that's where I met a lot of the kind of like clicky, interesting people that spend most of their time in private instances.
So tell me
but
this:
you kind
have
of
you
had to,
ever
like,
done Sansar?
Yeah, I've played Sensor VR for sure. It's good. I didn't think the user base there wasn't enough.
There were no people. There were no people.
My interest
But
in,
I went to these.
Lot,
I went to some of these. I tell you what, compared to VR Chat, Sansar blew my mind.
Yeah. No, it was pretty incredible. I think you need to kind of toe the line between making things in Sansar was very difficult compared to VR Chat. What VR Chat did well is that even like a 12-year-old could throw together a VR Chat world in Unity and get something online. It wouldn't be pretty, but like it took very little effort to get things up and running on the platform. Whereas with Sansar, it was significantly more difficult. They had some of these kind of ethos level ideas, like this belief that you should be able to create things directly inside of the VR world instead of having to use like an external Unity SDK.
That's because they were based off of Second Life. Sansar
Is it? Could you do that in Second Life as well?
Yeah. In Second Life, you could import something from Blender or something, but Second Life, you did all your creating in world. And I was part of the early user group that was dragged into, before Sansar was called Sansar, it was called like Second Life Next or something. It was an offshoot of Linden Labs, and it had a bunch of those developers in there. And they dragged a big group of us in, like power users, in to talk about their because they were starting to develop the in-world creation tools, and they wanted us to try it to see what we thought compared to Second Life. And so we gave them feedback. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, then eventually it became Sansar, and Sansar has the same approach, that you create something in the midair in the world and you manipulate it and you attach things to it, and you can import a Blender file if you want a new shape, or whatever. It's not prims, it is mesh, but you're building it in world while you stand there. building it around yourself.
Right.
And I'm only familiar with that. With
Okay, so for you, it comes naturally.
Yeah.
That makes
I've
sense.
picked up Blender and tried to learn it and stuff, and I'm so spoiled by the simplicity of stuff like Second Life and by extension Sansar, because they had to simplify it in order to make it even feasible. And then you go to Blender, and Blender's like, or whatever. I'm trying to think of other. I've just blanked on the other Blender. Like, well, anyway, incredibly complicated, and it has to be. It has to be because it is the ground floor. It is the moment. You're doing everything in Blender. Nothing is taken care of for you. I have used Blender, like Sims 4 lets you create objects, bring in objects to your Sims. So I made some rocks.
Cool.
I was really proud of my rocks. I thought I might be able to sell my rocks, but I never could figure out how to make my rocks know where the ground was.
Oh no. No physics, that's the problem.
So yeah, you had to tell your rocks to find there was some way you had to put a script in your rock or something that would find the coordinate that was the ground, and then stick it like a magnet. Stick your rock to the ground, no matter where the ground was, and then you'd have a rock that stayed on it. And anyway, it got too complicated. I couldn't do it, but at least I could make a rock.
Probably using shaders. Yeah,
I could make a rock. Pretty proud of it.
What I thought
a
was
texture
really cool,
and everything.
What I thought was really cool about VRChat, and like what I found cool about Sansar, and what I found cool about honestly Roblox, and Minecraft multiplayer, and all of these kind of quote unquote game engines, right?
Yeah.
Where people can build mini games within the ecosystem, but they can also move between mini games within the ecosystem, and sometimes bring assets with them from one to the other. It's just you're creating something that's so much more complex than just a game. It's not just a game. It becomes a little bit more like I don't know if you've seen Sword Art Online, but at one point they talked about the idea of the seed, how there was an interoperable layer that would sit on top of all of these worlds that were generated using the seed, and it would allow you to kind of move between them. That's really interesting to me, and it's something that even I like that idea even from a social media standpoint, where back when people were talking, this is years ago now, but a lot of people were talking about Web3 style social media platforms, where you'd be able to just take your account from one social media platform. Let's say you no longer really supported the development team that was running that social media platform. You'd be able to take all of your contacts, all of your information, all of your posts, pick it up and move it somewhere else. And I think that's really cool. I don't feel like people should be tied down to one specific platform or one specific environment if they want to move their digital content around. I feel like ultimately you should have ownership over your own digital content. Which, yeah, I felt like in VRChat I very much was in control of my own digital content because I was creating it. The worlds that I made in VRChat that I would hang around in, a lot of them I had made myself. Some of them were made by my friends. And there were objects that I could carry with me as part of my character through different instances. And I think after I stopped playing VRChat, they even implemented an objects framework where, let's say if you beat a mini game in a specific world in VRChat, and you unlock a new item or something, you can take that item out of that mini game and into other people's worlds. Which is really cool. It's this idea of object permanence. They've also implemented save state mechanics. That again, it was after I stopped playing, but what that meant, or world save state mechanics, were if you go into a world and you move a bunch of blocks around, and then you leave that world, the next time that you come into that same instance, the blocks will be exactly where you left them.
What if someone else came and kicked the
Well, if they came in and they moved the blocks around, then they wouldn't be where you left them. But my point is that like irrelevant of whether or not something is in that world, things don't snap back to their default state. Which is cool.
Got it. Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to take a
Circle back.
moment now to first of all, I absolutely love this conversation and I kind of wanted to continue, but it is after Promptcraft Live ending time. So I am going to, for a moment, just close this out and let people see the Promptcraft Live screen and say happy holidays from Midjourney and from the Midjourney community team. And those of you who are watching via recording or social media, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, feel free to leave a comment and hope to hear from you. And I'm going to close the stream now for you guys. Bye.